see how we do this. Oh, that's an interesting one to start us off with. Okay, so this time we got black circle and these other icons as well. These two symbols here with the diamonds, they give us a trade bonus. For every chieftain producing hides and feathers, you get one additional action point. But let's start with the 6 here, the action point 6 in the black circle. What you do is you take your trade goods, which is 5, and you take away the number here. So 5 take away 6 is going to leave me with -1. Now the minimum you can get is always 1, so I'm going to get at least 1 action point. Okay, so this high number 6 here is pretty bad. If I had 8 up here, then I would get 2. 8 minus 6 is 2. Okay, so 5 minus 6 is going to give me -1. The minimum is 1. But now I can think about my bonus. So we're looking for hides and feathers. This time you do have to control them, right? So this one doesn't count. This feathers and this feathers do not count, unfortunately. So I've got 1 hides, 1 feathers, another hides. That's 3. You're getting 1 action point for every single one of them. Doesn't matter whether they're mounded or not. That's irrelevant. So I'm getting 3 bonus action points. 1, 2, 3. It takes me up to 4. All right. So you don't do get the bonus and then take away the 6. You do that first, get your basic minimum 1, and then get your bonuses. So I'm up to 4 action points. Pretty cool. Next, we need to do the hostiles phase, and this time we've got 2 of our Native American tribes identified. We've got the Cherokee and the Caddo. Let's start with the Cherokee then. So the Cherokee is here in Kuza. There's no peace pipe, and we have 1 chieftain in Pinson here at number 1. In this case, it's pretty straightforward. There's a plain chieftain here. It's not mounded, so the Cherokee advance is going to be unopposed. They simply move in here. Next is Caddo. Okay, let's see what happens over here, because we have a peace pipe and Caddo is up here. Now this is an open chieftain. It's not mounded, okay, so they can just walk straight in. But there's a peace pipe here, and what that means is instead of walking straight in, we remove the peace pipe marker, and they stay where they are. Okay, so the peace pipe has just kind of delayed their advance for a little bit, but now we're at war. The peace has been removed. Now we can start spending our actions. We've got 4, and there's a whole bunch of new actions now that we're in the post-Hopewell eras. So let's start taking a look at some of them one at a time. The first action is called Improved Storage Pits, and this is an advanced game only action type. Okay, so if you're playing a simple game, you don't have to worry about this. But it does need a mounded seashell chieftain. So we've got one here at Angel. Right, if you've got a mounded seashell chieftain, you can take the Improved Storage Pits action, but it's going to cost you a number of action points, and the number of action points it's going to cost you is equal to, at a minimum of 1, the number of wilderness lands that you control. At the moment, I control this one, I don't control this one, I don't control that one, I don't control this one or this one. I only control 1 anyway, so it's going to cost me 1 action point. So we move this down. 1 action point. And what does this action do? It allows me to flip this token. Okay, I can now save 2 action points between turns. The next thing we can do is we can attack a hostile army. So let's try and attack the Cherokee for 1 action point. And what we're trying to do here is push the Cherokee away from Pinson. Make sure that we keep hold of these hides. Okay? We need these hides. It's only because we have 1 hide here and 1 hide here that we can add 1 to our trade goods value. If the Cherokee are here and remain here at the end of the turn, when we move into that housekeeping phase, any plain chieftains that have enemy control are going to be removed. Okay, so we want to roll a die, and we need to roll higher than a 2. So 1 in 3 chance. Yep, we got a 6. Alright, so we push him back. The Cherokee move back to Kuza. Hides are safe for now. We've got 2 action points left, and the next thing I'm going to do is use my leader, the Great Sun. Okay, and we're going to do a powwow, and this always needs a leader. So we're going to make our leader unavailable. We've used him for this turn. And a powwow means we're all going to sit down, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat, and we're going to form a little bit of a peace. Cost 2 action points, which we've got. And this means we can now place a peace pipe on a warpath that doesn't have one in the furthest land out that we control. So we're going to put this here, I think, on Pinson next to the Cherokee. So what that means now that we've had this little powwow with the Cherokee, next time they would advance, instead they're going to remove the peace pipe. Alright, so for now we're at peace with them. They're not going to advance. And that's important because they're pretty close to our capital. We're out of action, so let's move into the housekeeping phase. So any enemy controlled plain chieftains are going to go. So this one here is going to go. There's pipestone, that hasn't lost us anything. This one, feathers, that's not lost us anything because we've got mounded feathers. And this one, feathers again. Actually, in hindsight, that's a mistake because they should still be there. Any warpath that has a peace pipe on it, these open enemy controlled chieftains don't get removed. So our trade goods number has not changed, we've still got 5, so that's cool. And that's the thing you're trying to keep an eye on really, because you want more action points to keep these guys at bay. Remember, our aim now, we can't extend our control too much. What we need to do, we can't discover new chieftains, we've got to keep them away from our capital. Before we head into the next turn, we can refresh our Great Sun, or we could pick it up and place it on one of these warpaths. I think we'll leave him here because I want to show you how you can use your Great Sun in an upcoming turn, hopefully to conduct an ambush. Let's head into the next history phase there. Red Wing, 3 action points. So this time it's a white circle, just as before, so we're going to get 3. It doesn't depend on our trade. Hostiles. Right, so we've got the Ho Chunk in decline. And then we're going to activate the Cherokee and the Natchez. So, Cherokee has peace pipe, we're now back at war. That powwow didn't last very long. And then the Natchez. These guys are going to come straight in here into this open land. What I think we'll do is take advantage of the Ho Chunk being in decline. And normally we'd have to roll higher than a 4 to push these guys back. But I'm going to use my Great Sun and show you how I can use an ambush. They're also in decline, so it's going to be higher than a 3. So it's 1 action point to attack a hostile army. We can use our Great Sun to do an ambush. And what this means is we get to roll 2 dice, and because it's an ambush, we can choose whichever die result we wish. So we can choose the highest result. Okay, so let's roll twice. A 6. Well, that will do it. I don't need to re-roll. And that's important. You need to decide to do this before you do your first roll. And what we've done is we pushed the Ho Chunk back up to Aztalan. Because there's an unorganised land now, if the Ho Chunk would next advance, they're just going to move straight in there. Nothing else occurring. The other way you can do ambushes is if you're attacking an enemy on a warpath that you're at peace with. So we're at peace at the moment with the Shawnee. Okay, we don't have any other peace pipes on the map, but we can still attack these guys even though we're at peace. And again, it's exactly the same process. We spend 1 action point and we roll 2 dice and we choose the best roll. This is because we're at peace with them. Okay, we're initiating the attack, not them. So we roll 2 dice. A 5 is good enough. Pushes them back. Okay, we've got 1 action point left, and I'm quite keen to push the Natchez back as well. So I need to roll higher than 2. It's a 4, that pushes him back. Good job. The good news now is that there aren't any enemies on any uncontrolled chieftains. Actually, I forgot to do one thing. Any chieftains which are conquered they should go in this box here, the Conquered Chieftain's box, so these 2 feathers and pipestone. And in the advanced game, what you can actually do is you can spend action points to return these back to the map. Okay, let's refresh, everything's looking good, and yeah, let's crack on. This is the chunky game. Oh, we learned about that in our little bit of history in the opening. Okay, the chunky game, we get 5 action points. We've got 5 minus 5 is 0. We get a minimum of 1. There's no bonuses here. The Ho-Chunk will revolt hostiles. Now we can choose, it says or here. We can choose to have the Kado or the Shawnee. So let's have the Shawnee move in. Let's do the Ho-Chunk revolt. Remember, it's a single die. It's 4. Now we learned in the Hopewell era that if it was an uncontrolled land then nothing happened, but post Hopewell, if we roll up here to an uncontrolled, unorganised land, then the army will retreat back to their homeland. If we'd rolled a 2, then they would be advancing. We head over and look at the Shawnee. There's an interesting thing here. If these guys were in revolt and got pushed backwards, then you would be forced to remove your peace pipe, because your peace pipe in this situation is what's called overextended. Your peace pipe should always be in the land adjacent to where the enemy is. If the enemy is away for some reason, or maybe this situation, then your peace pipe is overextended and it will get removed during the refresh phase. As Talan, this is a white one, so we get 4 action points. The Ho-Chunk are in decline again, and the Cherokee are advancing. Just before we move on, because I think you've got enough of the idea of the gameplay here. If this was mounded, let's see what happens. The point here is you've got a choice here. You can either let the Cherokee come in and advance, and what will happen is that the refresh, instead of this thing getting conquered, it will just get flipped. It will get what we call degraded. Or what you can do is you can choose to perform a defense roll. Okay, if this is mounded, you can perform a defense roll. But this time we have to roll higher than the chieftain value. Right, we're not attacking their 2, we're defending our 4. We have to roll higher than a 4. And it is modified, so if the Cherokee was in decline, it would only be higher than a 3. And the other thing you can do is you can use your Great Sun and make it an ambush defense, so you roll 2 dice and take the higher result. So let's do that. Let's defend. So we've got a 1, that's rubbish, and then we want higher than 4, come on, it's a 5 or a 6. Okay, we failed. If we'd have succeeded, then their attack would have failed. If we fail, then they come in and our defence has failed. The reason why this is optional and why you might not want to defend it is because there is a risk that your mounded chieftain will actually get degraded straight away. If you choose to defend and you roll a 1, then not only does their attack succeed, but the chieftain gets degraded, the mound goes as well, and of course that means then that during the clean-up, this is going to get conquered. Alright? The last thing I want to show you before we finish up is the Spanish era. So we've got these 2 cards. They're quite a way down, so you've got quite a lot of work to do before Cusa comes out. And for me it was only a little short step to the Spanish coming out. It's like any other card Cusa, but it's got this little yellow flag here, alright, or black flag with a yellow background. What you do then is head over to your trade goods track and see where you are. There's 3 names written here. We've got Bacha, Heredia and Coronado. These correspond to the names on the back of the peace pipe tokens. If there's any in play, you just substitute them out to find the ones that you're looking for. You can't have more than 2 peace pipes in play after this phase anyway, so you'll always you'll always have 3 peace pipes available, right? So Kusa comes up, you get a limit now, no more than 2 peace pipes on the board. These go and create a new draw cup. What's interesting about this is that these guys, the further up this track you are, the stronger those Spanish who come looking for you are. Now you've got a little bit of time, because that's not going to do anything until the Spanish arrive, okay? And that's when these conquistadors will come out looking for your treasures. First you roll a die. I've got a 5 here, and we refer to this little chart, and that tells you where to put the Spanish, which warpath. Okay, this says the Natchez warpath. So this guy is going to go here in the Natchez homeland. You'll notice that the Spanish and the Indian armies will coexist on the same warpath. We'll also place this back here to show that we're in the Spanish era. And this token also reminds us that you remove the Great Sun, and if you're playing advanced you put the Black Tortoise in. And it says powwows are now forbidden. The next thing we do is we follow this cross part. Okay, and this is going to happen twice as it goes, because after we've finished with this card, we're not going to discard it and put it in the discard pile. What we're going to do instead is place it back in the cards that remain, shuffle it up, and then that Spanish card's going to come out again, and we'll re-execute that Spanish card. We'll follow it from top to bottom, but then at the end of that turn, that signals the end of the game. Right, so what does this cross mean? Well, it means we go draw one of these from the draw cup, and this acts as a leader for the Spanish army. Okay, at the moment it's leaderless, but now it has Varga with a leader value of 3, and then this guy will advance. Now here's the catch. What you get when this leader joins the Spanish is you get 1 free attack. Okay, 1 action point that you must spend, no choice, you must spend attacking one of these armies. The Spanish are termed relentless. If you attack another army, one of these Indian armies, whether you win or lose, the Spanish are going to advance again, and they'll keep advancing. And every time they advance, they give you another attack action. So this is going to be a relentless assault on your capital, okay, until you choose to use that action to attack the Spanish. If you attack the Spanish and lose, it keeps going. You will attack, move forward. You can choose to attack the Spanish or another Indian army, and it's just going to keep going, until you successfully beat the Spanish army, and then their relentless assault will cease, and they're not going to move again until the second Spanish card comes out. Of course, if you're not getting good rolls, or if you manage to get a very strong Spanish leader, like this guy here, the Coronado, then it could well be that the Spanish are just going to keep pushing on your capital. The other thing is that, let's say you manage to hold the Spanish up at Bynum here, number 3. Okay, so you've got through the first turn, you've held the Spanish up. What happens now is you take this smallpox marker. Yeah, these terrible foreign invaders bring smallpox with them. And you place this on the storage pitch track here. And what that acts as is a cap to the number of action points you can have on a turn. Okay, so the further in they get, the stronger the smallpox problem, the fewer action points you can have on subsequent turns. So again, another little moving part that you've got to keep an eye on. The final part I want to show you before we finish up is how you actually defend Cahokia itself. What happens here is, let's say the Cherokee are moving in and they would advance. Well, your palisades will stop them advancing. Okay, what it'll do instead of advancing, if this army activates, it turns it 1 click anti-clockwise. Then, if this army activates, and this is particularly virulent with the Spanish army, just continuing to hit on your palisades. Is it the lowest spot and it must be reduced instead? They're breached, you flip it over to the breached side. Palisades breached. Now, any advancing army will immediately end the game and you will have lost. That's Mound Builders. I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration. There's a lot going on here, and it kind of feels like, you know, there's two games. This first one when you're expanding, and then the second game where you're keeping the enemy forces at bay. It's a great little duality of a game. That's it for now. See you next time.